I'm Catherine Cassidy, Editor-in-Chief of Taste of Home, and our live cooking school is coming to your town. You'll get a sneak peek behind the scenes at America's #1 cooking and entertaining magazine. We'll teach you how to make classic American dishes and show you some of the all-time best recipes from Taste of Home. So gather your friends and family and join us for the most delicious event of the year.
We are talking about football because it's Thursday, right, guys?
And that's what we do on Thursdays.
So we are also talking about wings. And these two are being really weak with me today. They're saying they're not going to eat any wings. It's ridiculous.
I want you to eat all of them.
We'll see what happens.
How hot are they?
I don't know. I haven't had one yet. I'm going to have one. I'm always talking. I will do it.
Okay.
I will do it. Okay, I can take a challenge. But for real, we have a story that you guys were looking at. It was our #1 story yesterday about the best places for chicken wings in Chattanooga. So we're just, going method here. That's what we do.
Going method. We're going Jared Leto.
Oh, I like that mention. Different story for a different time. So let's talk about football while I'm trying to start. Thank you, Ellis. Yeah.
You gotta eat wings if you're going to watch or talk about football.
Okay,
right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about football.
Let's
Stephen,
talk about it.
I'm opening these wings, and you're going to eat one. Okay, what's going on football-wise?
Everyone is well past the, at least the midway point of the season now. So now we kind of have an idea of what teams to look for, who's playing well, who's getting ready for the playoffs, that kind of thing. My column...
Not that hot.
Not that bad?
Not that hot. You like it?
I think they're perfect.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go.
Moving on.
Column for tomorrow will be on Bradley Central. Those guys are off. They're 6-0 for the first time since 1987.
Whoa.
When their coach now, Damon Floyd, was 10 years old and living in Red Bank at the time. So he has no recollection of the last time the program was 6-0. They host Dobbins Bennett this week. Could be 7-0, and then if they win next week, they've got a Thursday game coming up with Maryville, who is like the perennial state champion every year. Everybody knows about Maryville. They're #1 ranked again. So Bradley could have there's 2 different TV stations for sure. They're going to broadcast that game come up in a couple of weeks on a Thursday, and conceivably have #1 versus #2 in Cleveland that night playing at Bradley Central. So that could be a huge game if both Maryville and Bradley continue to take care of their business for the next couple of weeks. That could be one of the biggest games we've had in this area in quite some time.
Will that be packed out, you think?
Oh, it'll be standing room only. It'll be an hour before kickoff. It'll be packed out.
What about people? I mean, that sounds like just a good game regardless of whether you care
whether you care about either team.
Yeah,
it's
either
a great
team.
game to go watch. I mean, because Maryville is year in, year out is the team that everybody knows about in Tennessee high school football. I mean, they are just, George Quarles does an amazing job, has something like a 97% win percentage. I mean, they just never lose.
That's unreal.
So
97%.
So they're the team to beat.
It's up there.
Bill Belichick would like to have something like that.
I'd like to have him.
Nick Saban.
So, I mean, that's looking ahead to Bradley Central, and just how they've kind of done it this year. Obviously, they've got Cole Copeland, who's a UTC commitment at quarterback and is just one of the top quarterbacks in the state of Tennessee. He was a Mr. Football semifinalist last year. It seems like every week that he goes out there, he breaks a record. Typically, it's one of his brother's records. The Copeland family in Bradley, I mean, there are jerseys hanging in the basketball gym of, great players that were in the Copeland family. And
they're more than one sport.
Oh, yeah. They're good at several sports. And
how many are there?
Oh, it's like they're dug in like ticks in Cleveland. I mean, there's Copelands everywhere. You can't. Brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandfather. I mean, they're all there. And Damon even said that at a practice earlier this week, he doesn't have to get on to Cole. He said he's spoiled because he expects Cole to make every throw, but if he doesn't have to get on to him because usually his brother, his dad, or his granddad are there at practice to get on to him.
They're one step ahead.
Let him know.
You release that too late, you're off your back foot.
Exactly.
So what happens if you don't want to play sports in the Copeland family? You'd be ousted, right?
That doesn't really happen, does it?
I don't think
that's
just not an option. It just doesn't happen. It's just
option.
which sport are you going to excel at is the only question.
Which of the many sports that you play will you be, one of the top in your district?
And so Cole, starting next year will be a UTC Mox quarterback. So something to look forward to there for years to come. Is a kid who is just in a great family too. I mean, I've covered most of those guys that played there for the last 20-something years. And they're all just great folks. And Cole is a super kid. So a lot of fun to watch him play.
Okay. Let's rewind a little bit to all the way back to last week. Macaulay Baylor. That was kind of a big upset for Baylor at least. Yeah.
Baylor people were upset.
They were upset.
They were upset. Not an upset in the way that people didn't expect it.
I
think many of us expected, and there were some really good memes on the internet. I thought the Macaulay people, though, for the most part, handled it very graciously.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they were thwomping them. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as
after the hype video.
I expected a lot more spiking of the ball, online. Maybe you saw more than I did. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think Macaulay jumped on them early.
Yeah.
I think had a lot of fun with it early on, and then it was just kind of...
Baylor was scoreless for a while, weren't they?
They were just until late.
Yeah.
They were scoreless, and I think the Macaulay folks just more enjoyed celebrating with each other instead of rubbing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some rubbing in their noses.
I mean, privately,
you just didn't see it. It was as in your face.
Yeah.
But I mean, huge win for Macaulay. Obviously, those guys are playing really well. They go on the road this week. That's the one thing I spoke with Ralph Potter, their coach, earlier this week, and he said the one thing that he hates about the Baylor game is 2 years ago, all those Macaulay kids put everything into the Baylor game, and when they won, they lost 3 of their last 5 games because they just basically checked out. And they had beaten Baylor. That was their goal. They were done. He thinks this team is different, and they've kind of got something to prove. They've got to go to Innsworth, who's always really good, one of the national area private schools this week, and that'll be Macaulay's 8th straight week of playing really tough competition. So they're a tired football team. He said he really wants to get through this game and give them next week they're off. They've got an off week where they can just kind of decompress for a week, heal some wounds. Mentally, they got to be just exhausted, and then kind of gear up for the last couple of weeks. I'm good. My girlfriend and I made dinner, and I've got leftovers, and I'm not going to spoil that. So it was really good. So
what a nice guy.
You'll have to forgive my ignorance on this question, but how has the TSSAA changes? Has that affected the matchups at all this season, or does that not take effect until?
Yeah, no, that'll be next fall.
Next fall.
So
okay.
We've got one more year of the way things were, and then next year is when Chattanooga Christian, Notre Dame, Silverdale, all of our smaller private schools move into Division II next year. So that'll be the big change will be for next fall. This year, just kind of status quo as it has been for a while.
But this is really the last year where you'll see.
This will be the last year where you'll see a lot of those, and that's the thing. A lot of the private schools that I've talked to, their coaches already said that as they're looking to schedule games next year, teams that they've played for years, public schools, have already told them we're not going to play you anymore because they're now in the private school league. They can quote, they're seen as quote being able to recruit. So,
so they're getting moved up. They're going to get moved up against tougher rivals.
Oh yeah, it'll be a much, and it's kind of Baylor Macaulay when the first Division II was created. Baylor Macaulay really, I mean, at that time they were having great games with the Red Banks and the Brainerds, and then all of a sudden they saw how good Brentwood Academy and Innsworth were, and they upped their game to the point now that those two don't lose to any of the public schools around here. They're just that much better than everybody else. And so I'm kind of curious to see, I think on a smaller scale, you'll see the same thing with the mid-sized private schools, the Chattanooga Christians, the Boyd Buchanans, the Notre Dames, where they're going to have to kind of up their level of play, their coaching, that kind of thing. They'll add more coaches, and you'll see those programs get noticeably better in a hurry because they're going to have to compete with some of the Nashville and Knoxville area private schools that are already, their facilities are upgraded, their coaching staffs are larger. So,
and in many ways, they're doing that. You're saying they're doing that right now. They're going to be maybe even noticeably better this year because they can't just start next year and say, okay, guys, we got to get ready.
Yeah, they're already. I mean, there's already plans. I know Boyd Buchanan their plans.
Right.
They've upgraded their field. We were there.
Yep, beautiful
the
field.
Turf. Upgraded some of their still
and
plans to
so
grow.
Their division, they're moving up, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. I was trying to grab the reporter.
Welcome back.
I know. I was trying to grab the reporter who wrote the wing story, and then guess what? I'm to find out about him.
He's out eating
He's
wings.
a vegetarian.
How do you write about wings?
How does he know? How does he know? Does he get the vegetarian wings?
I mean, I guess he's just taking their word for it, or ours. So that's what I was doing. I was trying to get more people to eat the wings.
I think the best wings in Chattanooga.
You guys can
have
knock
faith
that
in
out.
us?
Best wings in
Ellis?
Chattanooga were always made by Louis Brogdon, former government reporter here, who now works for Lamar Alexander. So shout out to you, Louis. You always burned the inside of my mouth so badly I couldn't taste anything else for a week.
Ellis wings.
Yeah.
Well, these wings are from Feed, and they're using that Hoff sauce that's locally made.
These are Feed Company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the top of our story.
Hoff, is that like David
Hoff.
Hasselhoff?
Yes,
Hoff. Okay.
the Hoff.
Don't
Yes.
hassle the Hoff.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about football while we're eating the wings. What's up with Howard?
Go ahead.
What?
I interrupted him. He was.
No, you're
talking
good. No,
about-
you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Howard's
good at
doing really well.
interrupting.
John Starr, we were at
Yes.
Howard a couple of weeks ago, interviewed Coach Starr. Knew he would turn things around, just didn't know it would be quite this quickly.
Yeah.
They are have won the last couple of games, including what was kind of a mild upset of Chattanooga Christian last week to catapult themselves. Now Howard is, if they can, they've got a non-region game this week, and then they close out on the road with 2 region games. I think if they even split with those games, they should make the playoffs. And this is coming off of the year they've already equaled the 3 wins they've got this year. That's equal to the 3 previous years combined. So I mean, he's just done an amazing job. They can kind of even their schedule, their record this week. If they win, they're 4-4 on the year with 2 very winnable games coming up within the region. So all of a sudden, a 6-win playoff season in the first year. 2 years removed from a winless season, and last year when they only won, I think, 1 or 2 games. Just an amazing job by John Starr to come in there and do what he's done.
So is coaching really that? I mean, is the coaching in high school and preps football is really that integral that you can take the same group of kids, put a new coach in there, and really triple your wins. I mean,
obviously you got to have good players. That's the start. But I mean, absolutely coaching. I mean, you look at some of the programs that year in and year out are winning, and it's usually the fact that they have stability at the head coaching position, where they have the same guy who's running the same type of program every year. And those are the teams that win every year.
Yeah,
and that's the huge reason for it is just that stability at the top.
How long has Notre Dame's new coach been there?
He's been there for a while. He's been there close to, if not at a decade, close to.
Oh, okay.
So he's been there for a while. Yeah.
Oh. How about, this is not a fun subject, who's hurting?
Cleveland, literally Cleveland is hurting. They have gone through. Skylar Davis is now their 4th quarterback of the year. They've lost 3 guys to season-ending injuries. I mean, they started the season having a legit shot at making a deep run in the playoffs, even possibly being a state championship type team. Had a quarterback who was in line to probably throw for 4,000 yards. He's lost for the season. His backup comes in. He gets hurt. He's lost for the season. Their 3rd-team kid in the same game gets hurt. He's lost for probably the season.
So who's throwing the ball now?
They've got a kid who started at receiver.
That's what I was wondering, if it was a wide receiver.
Throwing the ball. Yeah. And in talking to their coach, Scott Cummings, they have lost 11 starters that they started the season.
So that's a whole team.
That are basically an entire team.
That's not good.
Out right now.
Not even. I shouldn't be laughing, but that's horrible. I mean, it doesn't happen that often.
It seems like every day this week, it seems like the Cleveland football Twitter feed has sent out, best of luck to one of their players who just underwent surgery.
I wish you a speedy recovery.
Wish you a speedy recovery from your surgery, that kind of thing. So it's just been a horrific. I mean, Coach Cummings has been in this for more than 20 years, and he's never seen anything like it. He had never, before this year, had never lost a quarterback to injury, much less 3 quarterbacks in one season to an injury. So it's just one of those. There's no explanation for it. It's just a bad run of luck, and it's really hit Cleveland very hard.
And with the younger kids that are playing, you can't rush them. Like in the pros, they might give them a cortisone shot and send them back out, but you don't do that with the smaller.
And the types of injuries that these guys have had, I mean, where you've had, torn knee ligaments where, I mean, they're going to have to reconstruct the knee. I mean, both those guys, I think when they went in for the surgery, it was worse than the doctor's original thought once they got in there. Another kid breaks his arm in like 2 or 3 places, his non-throwing arm, but I mean, it's just those are things that they're just not simply.
It's amazing what these guys play through. Like after they quickly try to start playing again.
Yeah. And we're kind of at that point in the season where a lot of teams right now, even the ones who are having success, the Bradley Centrals, the South Pittsburgh is going to play this week for the region championship, and they've got 3 of their starters, including a guy who is in the top 5 in receiving and scoring in the area, and he's out with a broken ankle for a while, or a cracked ankle, or I'm not sure exactly what the terminology for it was, but
you need that ankle.
You need that ankle to be able to cut and run on it. He's not going to be able to play, and 2 other starters that play both ways aren't going to be able to start for them. So you're even the teams who are having success right now are pretty banged up from just the course of the season. So those are the guys who are hoping they get healthy again in about a month when the playoffs start.
There was some, and this is sort of speculation that's been going on for years, but there's been some speculation that the guys are getting bigger that are playing these sports. They're able to
bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah, they're getting bigger, faster, and stronger. They're the workout techniques for these guys are always getting more advanced. They've got the protein shakes and all this stuff, and so if you grow guys that are bigger and bigger and bigger, and they hit each other harder and harder and harder, then
it's going to happen.
Yeah, you're going to get
absolutely.
these.
That's the whole, the concussions. I mean, not just the concussions, but I mean, those. Bradley Central has their offensive lines, like they've got one guy who's 315, another is 290, 280, 260. I mean, these are high school kids.
Yeah.
Average about 260, running
pretty
full
big
speed, banging into each other. Something's going to break. I mean, something's going to snap.
It's scary.
So yeah, it's just I think a lot has to do with that. I mean, football's it's a physical sport anyway. Kids are going to get hurt.
So
but I think when you
just running around on the field, I mean, you're going to twist things. You're going to
exactly. You plant and cut, and knees are going to give way, that kind of thing. But I mean, the broken bones. And things
so
like
why
that,
do they do it?
It's fun.
Oh, the love. It's one of the most. I've got so many friends who. We spoke to a guy from Howard just a couple of weeks ago who said, Tredell Sands, who played for the Oakland Raiders for several years, played in the NFL, and said if he had a chance to suit up for one more game, it wouldn't be in the NFL, it wouldn't be in college, it would be one more Friday night to play high school football. There's something about
the love of the game.
The love of the game, and it's it's the most. It's the last time you'll play it in its most pure form, as he was saying. You're not.
There's no money or
there's no money.
Career.
Every step beyond that, as Tredell said. It's a business, and it becomes a bigger business the further you go. That's the last time you're just playing basically with guys you grew up playing in the backyard with.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of it's just something that's really pure.
It's funny how when people get so successful and make so much money, they always want to be back to where they started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's back coaching now at Howard, and that was the first thing I asked him. What brought you back? I mean, you can just travel, do whatever you wanted. And he said just to be able to be, on a Friday night when you hear the band coming into the stadium, he said you just get those butterflies again he said I didn't get the rest of my life. I never had an experience like that in the pros or the college, nothing like that. He said, and still right now, he said before the game when you hear the band come in and you hear the crowd, he said there's something about Friday night. He said I'll get those butterflies again where you kind of get nervous again.
It's cool.
So it's almost like it's almost like an addiction. It's why coaches will get out of coaching and then stay out for a year or two. And they can't find anything that fills
nothing
that
else
void.
gives you that rush.
Gives them that rush.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's really cool. Glory days.
So Cleveland's hurting pretty bad. Who else is down there with them?
I mean, I think that's about as low as we've got in our area. In terms of that, we've got some other teams that we mentioned, that have some injuries, things like that. So really, Cleveland, you guys get healthy for goodness sakes.
Guys.
And beyond that, I think Baylor right now is hurting emotionally, probably coming off of last week. What happened to them? And they've got they're off this week, and then they've got some huge league games coming up before they go to the playoffs. So
I imagine they feel a lot like Kirby Smart and Georgia does right now. He said they're kind of just saying we're moving past it. I don't know how Baylor's handling it.
Yeah, and Coach Phil Massey, after the game last week, that's one of the things he told me walking off the field. He said, we find out what we're all about.
Yeah.
Now we find out what kind of team we are, what kind of resiliency we have, if we're just going to fold up our tent and say, we lost to McCauley, that was it, or
game's over, season's over.
Fight back and get better and see where we are when the playoffs roll.
Yeah, how did coaches, react to when their team loses pretty bad? I mean, you see, they get pretty pissed usually. But then are they trying to motivate these young kids back up? It's not like when you're in the NFL and they're just
well, the coaches have the context. They've seen lots of wins and lots of losses, and they know that you can. But these kids, their time frame, their context is so compressed that it's probably easier for them to get down and feel like, well, we've lost and life's over. And so you've got to kind of say, no, there's more to it than
that's where
that,
the coach's perspective comes into that. That's where they basically they show them the film. They grade the film and say, look, if you'd made this block, if you guys hadn't missed this, if you don't make this turnover, then the game's completely different. They find something, a teaching tool, something positive they can spin and say, look, we could play with these guys if we just had done this differently, that kind of thing, and get the kids believing, kind of rebuild their.
Do you see a lot of different coaches' strategies for stuff like that? Like some of them who really give them the tough love, and some of them who try to. Yeah.
There are the guys who are very almost like a professor, where they're just very. straightforward and look, you do your assignment here and you do your assignment here, and we're going to win this game. And other guys who play off so much of the emotion of the game and try to get their guys jacked up emotionally.
And people respond to things differently. Some people really respond to strong arming, and other people, they lose their confidence from somebody being too tough. So it is a lot of psychological.
Absolutely. That's where it goes back to when we talked about earlier how important is coaching. That's a huge part of the coaching, is knowing, kind of having your finger on the pulse of the team that you're coaching,
and of each player.
How are they going to respond?
Right.
Some guys respond better to a pat on the back, and others to a kick in the butt. So it's just all a matter of.
How about you, Ellis?
Kick in the butt usually works best.
For you, or
yeah, for me.
You usually do for the people that work for you?
I'm going to say a pat on the back for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been doing kicks in the butt this whole time.
Yeah, amazing. I'm still here. Yeah.
We did have a question, and
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but I want to. Aaron Ralston, he says.
Derailed along with it.
You're welcome.
Aaron Ralston, thanks for your question. He says, Hargis, what are your thoughts regarding the Trezevant situation with TSSAA not finding anything regarding the grades discrepancy with the football team?
Yeah, Memphis Trezevant, who was the 2A state champion last year. They beat Marion County, one of our local teams, last year. And then last week, news broke, I think it was on Thursday, that there was some grade issues with some of their players, and that they may have to forfeit all of their games if they had players who played who were ineligible. But as it turned out, once they did some further digging, there wasn't as big an issue as what they thought. I think they wound up only forfeiting last week's game that they were going to play on Thursday, and basically they weren't allowed to play it while they were looking into the issue. So they wound up not having to forfeit as many games, which means Trezevant now, if they continue to win, they'll be in the playoffs just like nothing. It's just kind of a...
So they just forfeited the one game, essentially,
yeah.
And that was enough for whatever the discrepancy with grades was.
Yeah, that was just kind of basically they took a timeout so that other people could investigate and see, okay, what are we dealing with here? Are there actual discrepancies in the grades, or, is this as big an issue as what they originally thought? And it turned out that it wasn't. So now they're pretty much cleared to play. No harm, no foul.
Okay, let's move on to UT. Big Bama game coming up, right?
Oh boy.
In 2 weeks, yes. They've got first they got to get by Texas A&M. They've got to go to Texas A&M Saturday, and that's it's college game day is in town for that one.
Yeah.
A&M's ranked 8th, Tennessee's ranked 9th. Both teams are undefeated, so that's a huge game.
That'll be one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much do you think it affects when they're away from home? Away from home.
I think some teams actually play better.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have the distractions that you may have, when you're home.
Because you're there just for football.
I know Russ Huseman at UTC actually prefers a lot of times for the bigger games prefers to be on the road because you're on the bus together, you're at the hotel together, you're eating dinner together. Everything is focused just on that game. I mean, you're no distractions as far as what girlfriends are doing or what parties going on here.
And coaches have to keep track of all that personal drama too, because it can be affecting how they play.
So I think a lot of coaches actually prefer when they go on the road, you're just so focused just on that. And you can have that us versus the world mentality. When you walk into the stadium and there's 90,000 people booing you. Or,
feel the pressure.
But you've got each other.
You've kind of got each other, and it's one of those things, hey, we're playing for each other today kind of thing. So I think a lot of coaches actually approach it that way, which is a really great way to approach it. Because you kind of get your guys motivated to, show everyone else kind of what you got against a hostile environment. So Tennessee showed that last week. They didn't play that well again in the first half at Georgia, but then came back in the second half and played really well and went on a Hail Mary throw there at the end to stay undefeated. So
Poor Butch Jones. I thought he was going to have a heart attack.
that was unreal to watch his reaction to it.
I know.
He goes from
He's been under such pressure.
jumping up and down. I was going to say you could literally see the pressure that had been weighing on him just kind of release emotionally when he just kind of had that breakdown kind of, on all fours. It wasn't planned. I mean, he goes from leaping and jumping for joy to all of a sudden he's
Kissing
just
the
kind of
ground.
down there and just, overcome with emotion. You could really see just how much pressure had been on him probably, going into this whole season.
Yeah.
Going into that game, and kind of a microcosm of just letting all that release.
Needed a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot on his shoulders. The media, obviously, we've been asking him, reasonably tough questions about the team's performance, and I'm sure his bosses are ready for a coach to finally be slotted into that position and actually succeed and move the program forward. And the fans certainly their forgiveness is very limited.
Yeah, depends on how they're playing that
That's right.
moment.
That exact moment. So yeah, I mean that's a tough gig.
Are we going to talk about the wings?
Yes, yeah, we have a lot of questions about the wings.
We've made a mess.
Yeah, but
Yes, you have.
they wanted to know, who do we survey? And various people. So people want to know who all we surveyed
These are
here.
filthy now.
Yeah, we've got some wings on the survey here, but we did the feed company, which is down on Main Street there. These are the Buffalo Hoth wings that we've
So
been
the
chewing
Hoth
on.
sauce, the local sauce. It's really good. It's not too spicy. It's good though.
Yeah, he said Charlie Loomis. These claimed the top spot in our tailgate lineup. They won Judge's Choice and People's Choice at the 2016 Tennessee Whiskey Festival.
So we're going off a lot of those.
I have to agree, they
awards.
are really good.
Yeah.
The sauce uses roasted tomatoes, smoked onions, and chili paste. It's spicy, so that's heat meter 6. Then we have the blackberry bourbon sriracha wings. Those are able to be, you can get those at
like wiping
the Diamond Billiard Club.
So that one won or created for the Tennessee Whiskey Festival.
Yes.
So I think our reporter who I tried to find, who's a vegetarian who wrote the wing story, he went off of I know a lot of these festivals around
the
here.
judges.
Yeah,
and
so
that's a heat meter 6 on those sriracha ones. Then
what was this one?
That was a 7. I'm sorry. Those were a 6.
See, I don't think they're that hot.
I didn't think so either.
But I mean, they're good.
Everybody's got. Some people are very sensitive to heat. The Honest Pint wings. Those are.
So they have some beer. Or is that the ones that have some beer in them?
Guinness-based barbecue sauce, as you might imagine, at the Honest Pint. Those,
I'm such a wing connoisseur.
Those also were very good. The Chattanooga Wing Factory, they have something called Blue Dreams wings. And they're marinated for 24 hours and smoked and glazed with a Carolina-style barbecue sauce. So you get a little bit of that mustard, tangy flavor.
Where's Chattanooga Wing Factory?
Those, I don't know, I've never been there, but I've seen advertisements for them. So
is that the way you say that word?
Advertisements, that's right.
Okay.
So those were the wings that we looked at as the best in town, as judged by the mostly by the judges of the Tennessee Whiskey Festival, where those things were examined and weighed. So that's your answer on the wings.
And this Sunday, if you're hungry for more unique wings, that's what our reporter's calling them, then you can go over to an annual competition where the chefs from local restaurants bust out their tastiest creations in hopes of claiming the title of Scenic City's Best Wings.
Where's
so
that?
that's at Chattanooga Market.
Chattanooga Market.
Sunday.
This Sunday.
The 9th.
Wing competition.
$10.
$10 to try the wings. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you too can be a wing judge and connoisseur as we would.
Yeah. So we finished one.
Yeah. Lesley still has to finish these.
One to go.
They're just gonna make me sit here until it's
Yeah.
done. Right. Is this like your coaching style?
Yeah, you can do it.
guys?
You can do it.
Animal carcass.
You're gonna do great.
Thanks for the pat on the back. yeah.
Now that he knows what buttons to push.
That's right.
I'm a woman. It can change. Okay. Anything else to talk about?
No, I'm just.
No, you're good. I can't believe you
good.
didn't have one wing.
I would like to find out
so
whoever can
lame.
deliver wings. I mean, like on a Saturday.
Oh.
If you guys
That is a
can
good-
deliver-
Domino's actually delivers wings. They're a little soggy. Sorry, Domino's, but you got
doesn't-
what you do is you
I've had those.
pop them pop them in the oven when you get them. Put them on a
No.
tray. Pop them in the oven for about 10 minutes on 400, 450, and they crisp right up.
Wow,
That's
we
how
know
you-
what Ellis is
That's how you
doing
deal with the
his
Domino's.
time off.
That's right.
Because this college football Saturday is one of those. I don't think I want to fire up the grill, but if anybody wants to deliver wings,
Yeah, does
I'll be
anyone
glad to.
deliver wings? If you do, or you know someone who
S.
does.
Hargis at timesfreepress.com.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got my credit
We
card
got it.
handy and ready to order.
There you go. I mean, that's a good maybe entrepreneur. It's startup week.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs listening.
There you go.
Hey Dave,
Heck yeah.
we want to
Well-
know if anybody delivers wings.
Well, you've got that guy
It's a
delivering
good
beer
business
now.
idea.
There's
Oh,
a
there's a
new
beer
business where they
delivery?
deliver beer. It seems to me if you're delivering
Yeah.
beer, you throw some wings in there, and you've got a pretty good company. So,
How is that legal?
I can be hired for consultations. on
Well, you
that.
know, in other cities, people do alcohol deliveries.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's just I don't think until
Like you can
recently
call the
we
liquor
haven't had it
store
here.
and get it. I mean, it's safer that
How
way.
drunk do you have to be to have
Well,
to call the liquor store?
actually,
No,
the
it's
law
like
is-
they just don't feel like driving. Like if you're in Miami, because they do this in Miami. I used to work there. So the traffic is awful. So you just don't want to go. So you can call and they deliver it. It's perfectly
Listen,
legal. Everybody
I'm really
does it.
loaded
It's
right now,
legal.
but I could go for another bottle of Mad Dog 2020. You guys can bring
Wow.
it
Give me
in.
the orange stuff. Yeah, I want to.
Wow. Haven't seen that.
I wanna see
since
colors
high
later.
school. Right. With like the JD coolers. You remember those? Yeah, let's
dating
not.
ourselves.
We're talking
Kids,
about
those
glory
beverages
days.
are mysterious adult.
This conversation is going off the deep end once again. So okay, read about the wings, and you can taste them for yourselves this weekend in our reporter, vegetarian Myron Madden's story, and Stephen.
We will have a ton on football.
Yeah,
We're
we'll have a
Football.
ton of football previews
Oh my
coming
gosh,
up.
yeah.
We've got a live game tonight. We've got Ward Gossett will be covering Walker Valley hosting a game tonight. So we'll have that. Slade Daisy at Walker Valley tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be covering I think 9 high school games.
9
Friday
games.
for Saturday. So we'll be tweeting. So look for the hashtag Best of Preps for those.
And we'll try to cobble all that together on our website as well, at timesfreepress.com. So you can kind of start there, and then you can branch out if you're interested in a particular game. We'll have the tweets from all the guys that are on all the games, and a lot of them will put photos up and a little bit of analysis, and it's really good. I learn a ton from following these guys on Twitter, so I recommend you do the same.
Yeah, lots of good feedback. Okay, so I'm gonna sit here, try to do this. Okay, it's on. Okay. All right. See you guys. Thanks for the encouragement.